most of our conversations were pretty combative. Yeah, it was usually me just arguing with him.
For very large portions of the stream, you guys were being friendly. Even when you were arguing, and I saw some of the 9/11 stuff. Again, it was...
Okay, so do you think, is if I'm friendly with somebody, is that like a betrayal of my leftist values? Like, do I have to, is there like a prescribed way that I have to treat somebody if we have like very diametrically opposed political opinions, or?
Well, look, it's questionable to begin with that you'd even allow somebody like Fuentes on your platform, like knowing that the guy wants to Holocaust pretty much every minority group aside from whites. Like, do you, like, that's questionable at best to even have him on your platform. And then, secondly, to have a, like, you know, a debate about something like 9/11, where it is a friendly, cordial conversation, and you're like, oh, well, you know, like, what's the most likely scenario? Like, yeah, there's all these weird, funny coincidences. Like, this is kind of like a debate you'd have with, like, a conservative guy that you sort of meet at a gym when you're just, you know, next to each other on the treadmill. Like, it's not a sort of debate and conversation you'd expect with somebody who is one of the worst human pieces of shit on the planet.
Okay, so because I wasn't combative enough, do you think that makes me like not a leftist, or, not, or I'm sorry, not left leaning, or
it's not that,
because it sounds like so far, none of our issues here are with you and me. None of the issues are with me like being left leaning or a grifter or whatever. It seems like our disagreement is over platforming people.
Well, like, it's not even just platforming. You literally would flat out deny that the guy's a Nazi.
I didn't like using the term Nazi, but I'll call him fascist. I'll say he engaged in reinforcements. I think he engaged in a lot of anti-Semitism. I was willing to call him a Nazi after the appearance on after the stuff with Kanye West. But like, why is that like the one point of fixation? Like, regardless of my like reluctance to use the term Nazi, like I still debated him on every position he had. I wasn't supporting him on any position he had. Like, I was accurately calling out like every argument he was making. Like, is that
okay? So you agree now that he is a Nazi?
Close enough. Yeah, post Kanye. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I was right then.
No, you haven't said you were right on anything yet.
No, the debate we had, that I had the position that he was a Nazi, so you'd agree that I was right in that debate? He was in fact a Nazi? The
argument wasn't whether or not he was a Nazi. The argument was, has he said enough to be called a Nazi, right? And at that point in time, I didn't believe that he had been. No, so I wouldn't have called him a Nazi then. So like, retroactively, I still wouldn't call him a Nazi then. No.
By the way, that wasn't the first time he essentially pledged allegiance to Hitler.
I don't know. I don't take seriously when you say like pledge allegiance to Hitler. Like, I think the conversations that I engage in are a little bit more sophisticated than that. I don't know what he says, like a lot of meme stupid shit on his stream, but I'm generally approaching him from what are his policy positions, what does he advocate for. So the more serious talks are the ones that I took seriously, not pledge allegiance to Hitler.
Okay, when people are saying shit like Hitler was misunderstood, he wasn't really a bad guy, oh, he just wanted to get rid of some of the like, you know, big financial influences that we're getting rid of, that were harming Germany. He didn't really want to target Jews. Oh, the Holocaust never really happened. Haha, lol. Like, oh, well, he's just kind of goofing around on stream. Like, those all sound like jokes to you? Like again, you're doing the same thing.
If he's with a... Okay, so the whole issue here is like your idea of engagement is I just need to be screaming like he's a Nazi, he's a Nazi, he's a Nazi the whole time.
No.
And like that's basically what you've said so far. No. I don't think you've said anything original new. I understand why some people like to engage with people like that, and that's fine. But the reality is the types of people that do that type of engagement have absolutely zero reach outside of their echo chambers. That's not what I'm going for. My goal is to have a very wide political reach, and I think I have a wider political reach than probably any left-leaning person in the entire internet, if not the entire world right now.
Point.
Okay, if you want to say I'm proving your point, that's fine. But the goal isn't to compromise my views for money. The goal is that I want to be able to reach into further audiences to have these types of conversations. And I'm not going to get there by screeching Nazi fascist or whatever at every person.
Right, okay, so it just happens to improve your financial situation.
Literally, as content creators, every single thing we do happens to improve my financial situation, sure. But there have also been positions I've taken that have dramatically... Almost certainly, it generally is. But I've also taken positions that have been dramatically detrimental to my financial situation. For instance, my Rittenhouse takes, which is a semi-conservative take, or maybe super conservative take, got me departnered from Twitch. My take on trans athletes got me banned from Twitch. So not every take I've given has financially benefited me.
Really? Your Rittenhouse take got you departnered. You know that for sure.
Yes. They sent me an email from legal saying, you're departnered because of this. Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, at least on the Fuentes topic, like, I know you're trying to get on as many of these platforms as you can.
Yeah, of course. That's my goal as any content creator, of course.
Well, right. But again, like, we're having this discussion again, where you're trying to downplay who Fuentes is.
No.
He's not kind of a Nazi.
This is the thing. This is so boring to me. If you want to talk about particular positions that Fuentes has and why they're right or wrong, those are I love having those conversations. But the obsession over like, we have to call him a Nazi, I super don't care. It doesn't advance any discourse. It doesn't get you anywhere. It's not persuasive to his fans. It's not persuasive. It's just boring to me. If that's what the kind of conversation you like to engage in, or other people like to engage in, that's fine. But I don't think you're doing anything there. You're not getting any points.
Yeah, right. Again, I know calling him a Nazi would burn a bridge with him.
No, it wouldn't just burn a bridge with him. It would lose you credibility with
No.
Okay. Then why? Then you try it. I don't know. You do what I do. I don't know. Knock yourself out.
Look, if I don't know, like, why you're trying to play this game. Like, I mean, Fuentes actively for years has been trying to get his fans to accept the idea that being called a Nazi should be worn as like a badge of honor.
That is absolutely not true. After Charlottesville,
that is absolutely true.
No, after Charlottesville, a lot of the you're just
true.
wrong. I understand you feel this way, but I'll just for my audience, I'll explain. After Charlottesville, a lot of people on the alt-right started running away from that label because they realized how cringe it looked, and a lot of them tried to reform. That's why a lot of them wear suits. A lot of them called themselves like what is it, like there's names, they're like all sorts of other names that they use instead of fascist or Nazi or whatever, because they realized how cringe that was. And even America First for a while was trying to get away from that more like extremist shit, except Kanye kind of rolled it all back. But
right, so that's why Fuentes, even before going on Kanye, was saying on his streams that, oh, I don't really care about being called a Nazi, like that's just fine, like nobody should actually be afraid of being called a Nazi. That suggests to you that he wanted to run away from that phrase.
There's the fact that they kept calling themselves like paleo conservatives and stuff like that, and the fact that they were at least pulling back a bit from like the ultra edgy Nazi shit or whatever. Like I think I even had a specific conversation about how much he thought the Jews are responsible for the world's problems, and he moved it from 50% to 20% or something, right? I think that they were kind of like walking back from that extremist rhetoric because they weren't getting very far with it. It wasn't very effective for their advertising, essentially.
Well, yeah, certainly. I know we all know racists have to hide.
Sure, that's good. That's a good thing. That's good. But if you have to tone down your rhetoric because you're not getting any fans with it, then that's fine. It's not like you can just turn it back up. I think that's totally A-okay.
Well, again, like, if you look at the guy's streams, not his public appearance. Well, now lately with his public appearances, he doesn't even care. But if you look at the guy's streams, where his fans are really the only ones watching, and some of the people who just hate watch him, he regularly, for years, tries to get people to be okay with the idea of being called Nazi. When you're talking exclusively about his public appearances, media appearances, yeah, he tries to not use that term. But when he's mostly only really talking to his own audience and his fans, he certainly tries to normalize the idea of being called a Nazi.
Okay, and if you want to have those conversations, then that's fine. But that's just not the conversation I'm interested in having.
Look. I know that you don't want to be you don't want to be the person to call Fuentes a Nazi, or Fresh and Fit, rape enablers, or Tim Pool a Nazi or a Nazi protector. I know that because you won't be able to get on their podcast. And,
okay, but don't you understand that I could literally Fuentes' audience, since we've been fighting me, accuses me of the exact same thing now. Because now I don't want to associate with them post Kanye, and he's like, oh, you're just doing this for clout on podcasts. You understand that this argument can cut both ways if you really wanted to. Like, oh, well, I've decided to call these people Nazi. Oh, you're just trying to win favor back with left-leaning audiences. Oh, you just want people to think that you're more acceptable again, and you're trying to come back into mainstream opinion. Like, it could cut either way.